The untold true story behind the most daring prison escape in Australian history. It's a plot straight from a Hollywood movie, a hijacked helicopter landing inside a jail to pluck a dashing and dangerous criminal to freedom. In 1999, Lucy Dudko, the Russian lover of bank robber John Killick, committed the only crime of her life, and all in the name of love. Red Lucy and her boyfriend made world headlines, but only now can the whole story be told. Recently and very briefly, Killick was a free man and gave his first and only interview to Mike Willesee. Killick neither asked for nor received any money.
John Reginald Killick is Australian crime royalty, if you can call it that.
He was what I would call a career criminal. He had a very lengthy history, some matters of violence, including armed robbery.
He's a bank robber and a jewel thief. He's also a brilliant chess champion, but most of all, he's an old-fashioned escape artist.
From banks, particularly good, but more so from jails. That escape that he orchestrated with Lucy was unique and reasonably well planned.
Lucy, Red Lucy, the sexy Russian librarian who became Killick's lover and helped him stage Australia's greatest jailbreak.
What did you say to Lucy?
I said, we can get out, but you'll have to hijack a helicopter. It sounds simple, that's what I said.
What did she say?
She said, it could be done.
Fly me down! Prison now! Go! Go!
Hurry up! Come on, Lucy, come on, let's go, let's go! Give us a gun! Quick, quick!
It was the Great Escape
Daring jailbreak.
Hijacked helicopter.
that made world headlines. Weeks on the run before one mistake put the lovers, who couldn't bear to be apart, behind bars.
John Killick, Lucy Dudko, you are surrounded.
His periods of freedom have been brief, but it hasn't stopped Killick living life in the fast lane.
You know, he wonders why I get upset.
Well, have a look at that.
Stop it, please.
Now the story he's never told about the love of his life and the life led on the other side of the law.
Hi, John.
Hello, Mike.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you. It's a pleasure, it really is.
Are you allowed to be here?
I am, yes.
Because you're freshly on parole and you've got very strict reporting provisions, don't you?
I certainly have. You can see it.
Can you take that off?
I can't. If I took it off, they'd be here and arrest me straight away.
From the time he was a teen, Killick has been trying to checkmate and outrun the law. He loved his mum, but feared his dad, a professional boxer from the tough inner-city suburb of Balmain in Sydney.
When he got drunk, he got violent. You know, I can remember times when we were hiding under the house, me and my brother and my mother.
Tell me about your mother.
I adored my mother. To me, she was everything when I was young, and I lost her when I was 17, and it really shook me up.
How did you lose her?
She killed herself.
What did you do?
Just packed my bags, said to Dad, I'm leaving. I said, I'm not coming back. The day Mum died, I said, it's me against the world. And I mean that. That's coming from the heart.
Killick lived on his wits and other people's money. His first arrest was over a raffle ticket scam. Later came bank book forgeries and jewel shop robberies. Prison was just a matter of time.
So where did you spend your 18th birthday?
18th birthday at Long Bay.
19th?
19th Bathurst.
20th birthday?
Bathurst.
21st birthday?
Yeah, Bathurst. Yeah.
Not a good way to grow up, is it?
No, it isn't. Well, it's a terrible way. Jails were fairly tough in those days too.
He was 18 when he escaped for the first time. It would become a lifetime habit.
I took off and they chased me. They fired shots at me, actually.
While being escorted to Bathurst Courthouse for sentencing, Killick surprised his guards and bolted.
I hid in a chook pen. An old lady saw me in a chook pen and told them where I was, and they got me. Chooks gave me out, yeah.
When he got out of Bathurst, he went back to Sydney. Killick's favourite pastime was punting on the ponies. He thought it was a hobby, but it was an addiction.
When I walked on a race course, the exhilaration was there, and being an optimist, I always thought I could win.
But that's not robbing people, that's gambling.
Yeah, I know, but when I lost, then I'd rob.
And to make real money, he began robbing banks.
It was me against the banks. I hated banks. They foreclosed on my dad's place. We lost our house. We went from a good house to a small house. When I ran into those banks, it's me against them. I'm getting the money, And if I got away with it, good, that's one for me. I didn't have any remorse. Nothing.
His first heist was the Commonwealth Bank at Canley Heights in Sydney's west. He was 24, wore a clown mask, and walked in carrying a rifle. He fired a warning shot into the floor and walked out with £1,300, $40,000 in today's money.
I want to do something now
Yeah.
that will surprise you,
Right.
may frighten you.
Mm-hmm.
I want to get your reaction.
Okay.
Okay, you're this far apart,
Right.
the guy's got a gun.
Killick claims he only ever fired to intimidate,
I'm terrified. I would be.
never to kill.
Yeah.
But that still leaves traumatised victims.
If I feel bad about anger, I feel bad about that.
Briefly, for 5 years, Killick says he put down his guns and went straight. And it was love that helped turn him around. In 1973, he met 33-year-old Gloria Bonafede at a chess tournament. She was a secretary who had no idea this dashing chess player had a criminal past.
It went for about 7 weeks, this chess tournament, and right near the end, I said to her, if I win this tournament, we've got to have a date.
I said yes, I would go, yes.
And I won it. I won the tournament.
When did he tell you about his criminal background?
Well, not right away, but I knew he was different and I knew I was missing something. So I just said, what did you do? And then he just said, I robbed banks. So I suppose taken aback.
Didn't stop you?
No.
They settled down, bought a local convenience store, and before too long, Gloria fell pregnant. Life was good, but then Killick got back on the punt.
John was gambling and he, at one point, had a bad, disastrous day.
Come home one night and said to Gloria, I've lost the shop. I mean, can you imagine what that can do to a marriage? I've lost the shop to an SB bookie.
I think he went from horses to dogs, and at the end of the day, we didn't have anything.
I had a $200 limit. I lost the $200, and I said, listen, make that $400. He said, you sure you know what you're doing? I said, yeah, I know what I'm doing. Well, she was shocked. I mean, she was about 8 months pregnant, and it's a horrible thing, and it's one of the worst things that I've done.
Soon after, Gloria gave birth to their son, John Jr. But with their business gone and another mouth to feed, Killick needed money. Behind Gloria's back, he started planning another bank job. So you've lost your apartment, you've lost your corner store business that you had with him, and he was stealing. How did you put up with that?
Because I didn't want to lose him.
But try though she did, the marriage didn't survive. By 1978, it was over, and Killick went back to his old ways. He was caught and convicted for 5 more bank robberies and in and out of prison.
It was here at the casualty section of the PA hospital that a young female accomplice armed with a gun helped Killick make his escape.
In 1983, while being escorted to hospital for a supposed eye injury, he sensationally escaped from Brisbane's Boggo Road jail with the help of another of his lovers. Still a fugitive, Killick moved to Canberra and in 1998 met a beautiful librarian called Lucy Dudko. Born in Moscow and an accomplished horsewoman, she'd come to Australia with her Russian husband.
That marriage was dead. Never, and that's a fact.
She and Killick met at a party and the attraction was mutual.
Lucy is intelligent, she's artistic, she's sexy.
Killick's love for Red Lucy would soon lead to Australia's most daring prison escape. Lucy Dudko had never committed a crime until she met and fell obsessively in love with the notorious bank robber John Killick, and he with her.
We lived together for pretty close to 18 months. That 18 months we spent 24 hours a day with each other most of the time. I think a woman's got to have femininity and a sense of humour for me, and she had both.
And the crime this Russian beauty would soon commit would be a crime of passion. In the late 90s, Killick was one step in front of the law. Wanted in Queensland for escaping Boggo Road jail, he and Red Lucy were in New South Wales and constantly on the move.
We'd taken off, we're on the run, there was no money. I robbed a bank in October, won at Mittagong and got away with that.
He got away with $32,000 and blew most of it gambling. He needed more. 10 minutes from Mittagong is Bowral, a pretty town south of Sydney with an NAB bank ripe for the picking. In January 99, wearing a stocking on his face, a black wig and a baseball cap, Killick went to make a withdrawal. John Killick, desperate for money, walked into this bank holding a .32 automatic pistol. The tellers filled his bag, but they also placed in the bag a red dye bomb.
That's it, come on, let's go!
And Killick had another problem. He was spotted by an off-duty policeman using the ATM outside.
I turned and went out at the bank, and I saw him from the corner of my eye, and he saw me.
Killick's gone into the bank around lunchtime armed with a pistol, and he's demanded money from the teller. He got about $40,000, threw it in a bag, and then ran out of the bank and went bolting through here.
And he was being chased?
Yes, by an off-duty officer.
When I started to run, the dye bomb went off, and there's red smoke started to come out of the bag.
Bit of a giveaway, isn't it?
He was running, then I saw him turn left and run into Station Street, and I kept running after him.
It was a dead end, and he came down to the car separating us.
He was saying, "Do you want to go, do you? I've got a real gun."
He picked up a rock and he hurled it at me, and it missed by about 3 inches. I fired a shot over his head.
As I got down, I heard a bang, or it was more like a pop, a loud pop.
Police emergency.
Police emergency, John Bright National Bank Barrel. We've got an off-duty officer of yours. The bank's being held up, and he's shooting at the off-duty officer down near the railway station in Barrel.
Killick fired 2 more shots.
He was pointing the pistol at me. I could tell it was coming at me.
One was in the ground, another one was over his head, way over his head.
But the off-duty cop kept chasing.
He sounds like a pretty brave police officer.
That was my misfortune, because when I went to Barrel Police Station down there, they all said, "You're unlucky," they said, because he's the only guy that would have chased you unarmed.
I moved to the right and seen him disappearing between those two buildings.
By now, reinforcements were on the way.
Mike, I was driving up this way.
Detective Sergeant Mark MacDonald was in one of 7 police cars searching Bowral when he spotted and exhausted Killick in this back street.
And as I got here, I jumped out, arrested him. He said, I'm not going to try and escape. I've got a heart condition.
With his gun coloured red by the dye, Killick was arrested and handcuffed. While police questioned him, on the outside his lover Lucy was beside herself with grief and turned to Killick's former wife, Gloria, for support.
I said to her, well, look, you know, I've got another bedroom. If you want to come here, I'm quite happy to have you.
While Lucy stayed with Gloria, Killick was banged up in Silverwater jail in Sydney's west, awaiting a very long sentence. The love of his life, Lucy, was visiting him 3 times a week, and the 57-year-old Killick decided he wanted to spend no more of his life in jail. Whose idea was it to hijack a helicopter?
Well, we agreed that I was going to try and escape. We agreed. I said that, look, we can get out, but you'll have to hijack a helicopter. It sounds simple, that's what I said.
It was the year before the Sydney Olympics, and Lucy's first step was to take a joy flight over the stadium site. But what she really wanted to see was Silverwater Jail just to the north.
She came back, she was all excited, and said, it can be done.
You also told her that she had to have guns.
I told her, well, I had a couple of guns put away.
Lucy was armed and dangerous, but she didn't stop there. She then hired the classic Charles Bronson movie Breakout about a helicopter escape from jail. The night before the day of the escape, Lucy had dinner with Killick's ex-wife, Gloria. Did you know anything was going on?
No, I didn't know anything was going on of that nature or any other. She seemed to be tense. She was struggling. She was struggling to live without him. You know, I had no idea that something as dramatic as that was about to occur.
Were you nervous?
I was a mass of nerves, really, and I couldn't sleep much of that night. Can you imagine what sort of date that would be if I didn't turn up and she's hijacked a helicopter, you know?
On the 25th of March 1999, Lucy knew that just before 10 a.m, her lover, John Killick, would be in the jail's exercise yard. Just after 9, she boarded another joy flight, the only passenger in a tiny 3-seat chopper.
And as we came towards the Olympic site, she was staring fairly intently ahead, and she says, oh, is that a jail ahead? And I said, yeah, it is.
At the controls that day was pilot Tim Joyce.
As we came around the jail, I was talking on the radio to another helicopter that was passing close behind us. She'd opened the purse and pulled out a pistol, pushed it to the side of my head and said, it's a hijack.
This is a hijack! Fly me down! Prison now!
This is a hijack, and then she says, we need to land down there.
Lucy had done her homework and wasn't fooled when Joyce tried to send a distress signal via the helicopter's transponder.
Screamed at me, no transponder, and whacked me across the wrist with a pistol.
They were now above Silverwater Prison.
Well, she said, we're going to land down there and pick somebody up. Climbed in, and then he put the barrel of the machine gun in my ribs. And then I started hearing shots.
Did you fire?
I didn't fire. One of the officers fired.
How many shots?
3. He hit us twice.
In the high stress and mayhem, as the guards opened fire, Lucy said to Killick, we have no car. I've forgotten the keys.
And my mind was racing, what are we going to do when we get out of the chopper? We haven't got a car. You know, we're going to have everybody in Australia looking for us very soon. That one slipped her mind. She didn't bring the keys to the car. But no. She bought the chopper. I was still pretty uptight because I knew we were far from home at that stage. We're in a small chopper. We were going very slow. He said, look, I said, can't you, mate, go fast? He said, look, mate, he said, this, you're unlucky. This is one of the slowest choppers in Australia.
After a 10-minute flight, Tim Joyce landed the Bell 47 here, about 7 kilometres from Silverwater prison. By then, Killick knew what he had to do.
He and Lucy tied up their pilot and then stopped a passing car.
I said, no, I need to drive us somewhere. If you don't do it, I'll shoot you in the knee.
They headed to North Sydney Station and then caught a train south to Goulburn. In a cheap motel, Killick dyed his hair. He and Lucy kept moving, travelling on trains and buses, heading south to Victoria. In all, they would spend 45 days hiding from the law while making headlines around the world.
They'd been all over Victoria and they were all over the media. They were getting desperate. The last chance they had to get the money they needed was a risky one and miles away in Sydney.
How did you get caught?
We came back to Sydney to get some money from a guy that just didn't turn up.
It was a criminal mate who owed Killick money, but when he didn't front, he had to change plan. He also feared the police were closing in.
And I said to Lucy, I said, you know, we're really in trouble because you can outsmart them every day, and they've only got to once outsmart you, and you're gone. That's where the odds are against you.
In a caravan park on the outskirts of Sydney, John and Lucy decided that next day they'd go bush. Then they went to bed unaware that earlier that day they'd been seen, and very early the next morning the game was up. John and Lucy had spent their last night together.
Probably 2 in the morning, and we're asleep. We were leaving at 6, and then we heard, and it's something I'll never forget, on the loudspeakers, you think you're dreaming. It's John Killick, Lucy Dudko. You are surrounded. Put your weapons down and step outside.
John Killick, Lucy Dudko. Put down your weapons and come out with your hands up. You are surrounded.